Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to episode number 5 of Art World Access. I'm so thankful you're here and also grateful for the St. Petersburg College Foundation in making this content possible for you. It's always hard for me to say. For the record, I am dog sitting and my cat is also here, so I apologize in advance if they do anything weird in the background. So today we're going to be talking about screen-to-screen communication, which basically covers emails, texting, phone calls, in direct messaging. That's kind of just like where I'm going to keep it for here. And the reason I wanted to separate like the communication videos, because I want to do another one with like Networking 101, which, you know, obviously has to do with like IRL communication. But I wanted to separate them because they just are different. I think obviously your presence through a screen is a little bit different than your presence in real life, and professionally communicating is something that is so valuable and so important and something that you have to do basically every day, but it's not something that's really taught to us. And to me, it's something that's kind of come second nature to me. I feel like I've been sending emails forever at this point, but it's taken me time to find my flow and kind of, you know, feel out what works best for me and that sort of thing. And for me personally, and just with me and my work in general, my goal is to be professionally approachable, right? So I want to look like I know what I'm doing, I know what I'm saying, I'm knowledgeable, but I'm also still Diana, and you can still have a conversation with me and ask me questions, and like I don't want people to ever feel like scared of me. I don't know, I never want to seem like unapproachable, you know what I mean? I'm not like that, mate. You can come ask me things. So we're going to start with emails and organizing your inbox. And I think the biggest difference between emails and text messages is the fact that, you know, platforms like Gmail or Outlook, they have like all of these amazing capabilities of creating folders, starring messages, and just doing things that can help you streamline your communication with other people. So the biggest thing, I always use folders, and it depends on the projects I'm doing. You know, if I'm curating a new exhibition, all of the, like, any artist communications I have about that, any applications that are submitted, anything like that, always go into a tagged folder. It's just the easiest way to streamline whatever you're doing, and I would suggest you applying that to maybe commission projects you might have, or anything like that. You know, it's just so much easier to have like one place to refer to instead of like sifting through and trying to figure out like who sent what when, and like it's just do yourself a favor and like try to get in the habit of doing that, like especially for projects. It's just great for project management, like aspects of email. The second thing I want to talk about is streamlined subject lines, which it's kind of unnecessary and like icing on the cake, especially if you're using folders. But I find it that it makes it a lot easier for me to find messages I might be looking for if I like used, for instance, if I'm doing like exhibition applications, I usually say X app, emerge, whatever. And then that way, like, I can just be like, okay, like, I know that like all of the messages, like all of the applications have this subject line, so that I can refer back to that at some point, you know what I mean? And yeah, definitely utilize those subject lines. The other thing I would like to cover is has to do with your contacts and creating mailing lists and database and things like that. This was something that Tina recommended to me, which she was in one of the previous videos we recorded, and the last time I was up there, we were kind of just talking about the fact that like it's insane that I don't have a database yet and haven't taken the time to do that, and it just hasn't happened. But I did create it like after our conversation, and she suggested using a a spreadsheet, you know, with like their name, phone number, email, how you met them, like whatever you want to put in there, like in terms of like how you can identify them or remember who they are. But I found that using Google Contacts really just works for me, because I just need a database so that I have a mailing list, or so that I can refer to people who might potentially want to work with me, or who I know like might want to keep up with the work I'm doing. So doing that right off the bat, even if you're just starting, even if you only have like 10 people on your contacts list or something, which is crazy. I feel like artists know way more than 10 people. But it's good to have, and it's just a great thing, like when you do something exciting, when your work is included in a new show, or you know someone who needs something or something, you can go to that list and be like, oh, I worked with them for this, they might be interested in this. And like it's just good to have that place to refer back to, like take advantage of the tools that are like already there on these platforms. And then just in terms of writing emails, I think it's just something that does take practice, but at the same time, like, there's just a couple of key things, like using correct grammar, sentence structure, spelling, like, just, email is a very professional way to communicate, and it's like should be structured to an extent, not in like a weird rigid way, but you should definitely, like, being that you have the opportunity to like type it up, like read it out loud to yourself, make sure it makes sense, because there's nothing more weird than receiving like a weirdly written email and especially like if this person emailing you is using like big words that you don't really think that don't really make sense, like, just talk how you would normally talk in real life for the most part in a professional setting, and just like let that reflect into your email, and don't like worry about, saying dear and sincerely and like those sorts of things. Just like be real. I usually like start my messages with like hi Jesse, I just wanted to touch base. I hope you're having a good week so far. I just wanted to touch base with you about this. I would like your insight moving forward, like just like make sure people know that you value their time and you understand that they will have to take time to respond to you. That's like a big thing of mine, is like I just want everyone to know that like I value communicating with them. So I'm always like, thanks in advance for your time, like, just it's just nice to like be nice. When you're like ending the letter, usually the email, like you can say whatever you want to say, like have a great day, have a great weekend, thanks, whatever. And then as you're signing it, that first time that you message someone, I usually say like thanks, like Diana Bryson. But you can, after that, I usually put DB or just Diana, and build a signature. That's very like so easy to build a signature like for any of your emails, and it just like adds like a level of like put togetherness that is a good look, and it also does save you time. Then you don't always necessarily have to like take it's like little amounts of time, but that time like adds up. So like make yourself a signature, and then you don't have to type like Diana Bryson at the end of every email. Okay, on to phone calls. I know a lot of Gen Zers and millennials do not like phone calls. I love phone calls. I think that there's a time and place for an email, but there's also a time and place for a phone call versus like anything else. And to me, like, I feel like I'm much more able to like show who I am through a phone call. So instead of like an email or whatever, like it's just like easier for me to be more personable and understand their vibes also, because sometimes people, like I said, like they don't write emails the way that they act in like IRL, and then they come off as like this like weird cold like robot, and I'm like, wait, can we just like have a conversation and like talk about like what you want from me and like that sort of thing. And so as you're setting up your phone, have a voicemail box that says who you are and that you'll get back to them if you miss if you miss their call. Like that's just, I know a couple of people that think it's like funny to do like a funny voicemail. I don't really think it's funny. That's just me. Do what you want to do. Just know that like anyone who's calling you like potentially wants to work with you, and so doing some like weird thing that you recorded when you were a kid or like something like that, I'm usually like, what is going on, like on the other end of the phone. So I suggest like saying like, my voicemail says like, hey, you've reached Diana, I'm sorry I missed your call, please leave me a message and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And if you can't answer the call, that's fine. Maybe listen to the voicemail and then send them a text with a better time that might work for you. But if you do schedule a call and a phone appointment, follow through with it as you would a real life appointment. Everything can lead to an opportunity, and you need to take advantage of those leads and of someone making the time for you. Like, don't do it like a no call. You wouldn't show up, but like a no call. So yeah, just like, and when you're answering the phone, sometimes if it's an unknown number that I think might be like a professional thing, I might be like, hey, this is Diana. But I've also found that a lot of people don't say that, so I've kind of just been saying hello like a normal person as of lately. But it just depends on your preference and just kind of like how you want to act over the phone. And when you're having phone calls, take notes, or you can ask them to send you a follow-up with what your what you'll be working on or what their expectations of are you. I find that like phone calls are really fun for me to have, but a lot of times like if especially if it's a long one, like I start to forget like maybe like what we talked about at the beginning of the phone call because we got excited at the end of it. And so having them like either follow up or you taking notes and then like ending the conversation with, just to be clear, like I'm working on this, this, and this, and you'll be working on that, and our next move is this. Like for me, I'm very much a doer, so I don't like having like these weird open-ended phone calls that like end with no like resolution. Like I don't really want to just talk unless you're one of my friends. Like I'm not just trying to talk. So if we're working together, I'm going to be sure that I know like exactly what we're doing so that I know like what my obligation is to like whatever we are doing. So just kind of like be organized with that. Keep that in mind when you're on the phone. When you're creating contacts, save the numbers and their emails. That has always just made it easier for me to reach out like via like however I need to, and it's just it's easier than asking for their email like again and again because like you don't save it. And obviously save the numbers. Like why would you not save like phone numbers, especially professional contacts? Like that does not make sense because they could call you again and then you don't know who they are and then it's weird and you're supposed to like have this relationship, right? So like save their numbers. And you can even say like when I've managed artists before, I usually will say like if I like was working with a specific client, I would say like first and last name Vitale Brothers, just so you know. Or maybe like you could be like commission, like Diana Bryson commission or something like that, just so like you can like remember that like right off the bat and you don't like accidentally clear them out of your contacts one day because you're messing around on your phone and like going through your contacts. I don't know who does that, but yeah, so save the numbers. And then video calling, I probably would not have covered video calling before like COVID happened just because I don't think anyone was really using video calls like that. But these days, like obviously like I have video calls every week, so my suggestions are to like look slightly presentable. I mean, I'm, like, very, like, cash today, but I still, like, put on a little bit of eyebrows, and, like, you just want to look clean, and you want your environment to look clean. Some people recommend having a blank background. I've never done that, obviously, like, in any of these videos. So it's just kind of, like, just look presentable, make your environment look presentable, and be ready for troubleshooting. You know, if you need a pair of headphones, like, have them ready. You don't have to do that, but it just, like, makes it, you know, streamlines it for when you are having that conversation. You can be like, oh, like, I can't hear you. Plug in your, like, little headphones, and then you can hear them. Stuff like that, like, looking ahead. Yeah, just look clean and have your environment look clean. That's all. That's really all. And then be ready to talk. And then the same thing goes with, like, if you're having, like, this video, like, phone, like, the same thing I would do with phone call is, like, recapping via email or, like, taking notes. So the last thing I want to cover is Instagram and Facebook DMs / Twitter DMs. I really, really, really don't like using any of those platforms for professional reasons. Unless you're just, like, like, reaching out to someone and using, like, Instagram to be like, hey, I really like your work. Like, I would love to talk with you more in-depthly via email or phone call. For me, that's just, it's hard for me to organize and remember, like, who messaged me where and keeping track of all of those things. It just, like, it's just too much. And it's also, like, no. I really, like, don't prefer it. And if you're, like, unless I'm asking you to respond to something, like, on Instagram, like, send me an email. My email's in my bio, and my website's on my bio. So, like, do some work in order to do that. It just, like, it's just way more professional and, like, it's just a better look. And it depends, like, what you want out of it, right? So, yeah. I also want to say, just, like, out loud, because I often get people, like, artists on Instagram that I don't know, and they'll send me a message and be like, hey, can you, like, critique my work? Can you look at my profile and stuff? And I'm just like, it's really hard for me to critique anything on Instagram. The resolution isn't good, and it's just, like, weird. Like, it's just a weird, it really doesn't work for me. And so I always prefer email. And a lot of times, like, I'll send an artist to my email, like, give them my email, and they won't follow up about it, which is less work for me, you know? So I would say, try to stay off of like Instagram DMs or like DMs in general for most communication, just because like I don't know, it's just not like it's same thing with texting for me. Which I can talk about texting, which is just, I don't know, do it maybe to set up an appointment, but for me, like, I want it in an email if we're talking about a project, and I want, like, I don't know, like, phone calls or emails for me, like, are foolproof ways of, like, communicating professionally, and just, like, it's just a better look, especially if you were working with someone that's, like, older and more established. Like, it's just a more respectable way to communicate, I think. And I also want to end this with the importance of, creating boundaries with screen-to-screen communication, because I think obviously, like, with texting, having your phone on you at all times, like notifications all the time, it's very important for you as an artist, as an entrepreneur, as someone who's managing themselves, to make boundaries. I don't answer emails on certain days or certain hours where I will check my emails. I don't find an obligation to respond to someone right away, like, ever, unless it's like something I know that I'm working on and like I have to handle. And I know, like, with COVID, a lot of people are working remotely that like weren't working remotely to begin with, and so it's like this new thing of finding those boundaries and finding what you're comfortable with. But like, for instance, like, my job is not full-time, so I'm not available full-time. Like, you can't be, like, you just can't, like, and, you know, people, like, entrepreneurs will say, okay, you're working all the time 24/7. I do not roll that way. I don't find that, like, it works for me. Like, burnout is real, and constantly communicating is exhausting, and I'm not good at it all the time. And so when I know that, you know, I need a break or need some, like, time off my screen, and someone emails me, even if it's for, like, an opportunity or something, like, you don't owe anyone, like, anything unless you, like, committed, you know? So make time for yourself. Do not be accessible 24/7. Just don't. Like, I don't know. I don't know if you really want to be. Like, I feel like that's just a way to get burned out. So, yeah, that's pretty much the screen-to-screen communication 101. Take care of yourself always first. Organize your emails. Don't DM me. And I think you should be good. The next video, I'm hoping to do another spotlight for our collection, and I'll probably have that to you in a couple of weeks. So until then, I hope you're well, and have a good day.